Okay, I want to talk a little bit more about the 1985 Bears Super Bowl theme. Also, how it ties into the Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, and whatnot. There's a lot of interesting information. Also, the rigged NFC AFC championship games. So, anyway, let's start off with the AFC one here. There was a ton of 12 and 21 in this game, just like the Chiefs versus the Patriots game, and also Super Bowl 49, the Seahawks versus the Patriots. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But for starters, let's look at the score here, 20 to 18. If you add 18 and 20, it adds up to 38. Denver is in Colorado. Colorado is the 38th state. Colorado and Gematria adds up to 38 the small way, 83 the big way. The mirrors 38, 83. Super Bowl 50 is even on the 38th day of the year. Manning always calls out Omaha in his cadence. Omaha equals 38. Manning, born on the 83rd day of the year. Tom Brady, even born on 8-3, August 3rd, and is 38 years old. I also put in Peyton Manning equals 68 the small way, 167 the big way. Interesting because he's 39 years old and the 39th prime is 167. And if you write out the word 38, it adds up to 68, just like Peyton Manning the small way. Also, worth pointing out, Panthers equals 38. So we have a Panthers Broncos Super Bowl, and they both have ties to 38 here. Also interesting, the Broncos scored 20 points. 20, if you write it out, adds up to 107, just like Earthquake. And I've talked a lot about Earthquake. Tons of Earthquake stuff recently. But we just had this story about the Alaska earthquake, the 7.1 earthquake that struck Alaska. Remember, Super Bowl 50 equals 71. Golden Super Bowl is what it's also called, equals 71. The Broncos scored 20 points. The 20th prime is 71 even. But I mean, also look at this. It says this earthquake was 50 miles deep. 50 miles deep. Literally the video they have on CNN, 50 seconds long. Super Bowl 50. Just throwing that out there. Also says it was at the Cook Inlet. Cook Inlet adds up to 41, just like Super Bowl the small way. They even show you the 162 miles southwest of Anchorage. Just thinking about it, the 162 could be a reference to the 1989 World Series with the earthquake on October 17th when it was San Francisco versus Oakland. Baseball has 162 regular season games. Major League Baseball in Gematria adds up to 162. Also, Back to the Future 2 released in 1989 when there's been a lot of coding to Back to the Future. So, just pointing that out. Also, in regards to the 71, Moses equals 71. The Super Bowl is played in Levi's Stadium. Moses was in the tribe of Levi. The 10 Commandments equals 71 in Gematria. And before Moses got the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai, there was a giant earthquake. That's what the Bible says. So, just interesting to point out. Also, Broncos are going into the Super Bowl with a 14-4 record right now. If you write out the word 71, it adds up to 144, similar to 14-4. If you write out Broncos win Super Bowl 50 in Gematria, it adds up to 122, just like San Francisco. Manning even had 122 passing yards at half when they played the Patriots, and the Broncos score was 17, so the mirror of 71. The Patriots score of 18 is also interesting. Peyton Manning is number 18, and he threw for 2 touchdown passes to number 81, Owen Daniels. The first one was for 21 yards. The second one was a 12-yard pass, the 21 and the 12. Owen Daniels in Gematria adds up to 121, just like the 12 and the 21 put together. Also, if you write out 18, it adds up to 46, which is all coded into the Chicago Bears theme. Chicago equals 46. They won Super Bowl 20, beating the Patriots 46-10, using the new revolutionary 46 defense. This is also the 46th modern era Super Bowl, but the 50th overall. The Broncos even originally played in Bears Stadium. Levi's Stadium in Gematria equals 46. I also learned today on Zach's blog, it said that Peyton Manning's birthday is 46 days after Super Bowl 50. Also, the only Super Bowl that Manning has ever won. When he played for the Colts, he beat the Bears in Super Bowl 41, which would have been the 37th modern era Super Bowl. In Chicago and Gematria, the small way equals 37 and the big way equals 46. The score was even 29-17 in the Super Bowl that he won. 29 plus 17 equals 46. And there's more to it than this here. This is all I wrote in here, but the Panthers coach is Ron Rivera, who played on the 1985 Chicago Bears. And now the Panthers have the same record, the 15-1 or whatever, just like the 1985 Bears. But he was also born on January 7th, which can be written as 1/7 or 7/1, the 71-17. His name in Gematria adds up to 120, which ties into Moses. Moses lived to be 120 years old. So anyway, during this game here, one of the biggest factors in this game was Gostkowski missed the extra point, and that's what screwed the whole game up. That's why they had to go for 2 and whatever. But Gostkowski, his name in Gematria, adds up to 149 and 41, just like Super Bowl. But look when he missed the extra point. 149 in the first. His name even adds up to 149. Interesting, that number is Skull and Bones adds up to 149. Also, plutonium adds up to 149, so tying it into Back to the Future. And since the Patriots lost to the Bears in the 85 season, or the Super Bowl 20, it just makes perfect sense that plutonium is what makes time travel possible, and whatever. I don't know. Anyway, moving on here. So he also wears number 3. 3 adds up to 56. I've been saying all year that 56 is bad. That's what raises one question with me with the Broncos winning the Super Bowl, is that they're in their 56th. They were established 56 years ago. The Panthers were established 22 years ago. So interesting, I guess. Just pointing that out. This also made the score 6-7. Lots of 67s. The Eagles, Glenn Frey, the Eagles singer, died at age 67. It was 67 days after the Eagles of Death Metal concert in Paris, France. Paris, France equals 56. ISIS 56. Ronda Rousey even lost her 12th fight. Ronda Rousey equals 56. Also, the announcer said that he had a streak of 523 PATs. Just interesting because I've been seeing the number 5, or the date 522 a lot. And in 2016, it's the 143rd day, which is tied into a lot of destruction. Joplin, Missouri tornado was on 522. It also ties into earthquakes and whatnot. But in a normal year, 523 is the 143rd day. So just pointing that out there. Found it interesting. I've also mentioned in a lot of my YouTube videos that field goals and punts would be special this year. There's something to do with field goals and punts. Field goal equals 71. Punt also equals 71 in Gematria. Also, just proving my 56 theory even more. Look how many passes Tom Brady threw. 56 passes. And then he lost the game. Manning threw 32 passes. Broncos equals 32. Denver equals 32. If you write out 32, it equals 50. Just like Super Bowl 50. It also says Manning had 176 yards and the team had 145 yards. Just interesting, Chicago, Illinois equals 145. Back to the Future equals 176. There was also a play in this game where Von Miller intercepted Brady's pass on a play that started on 14:41 on the clock. 14 equals 41. If you write out 41, it equals 46. Interesting, too, Miller was number 58, and he's also born on the 85th day of the year. Lots of this to earthquake and whatnot. So, also, Von Miller in Gematria adds up to 120, just like the age that Moses died. Later in the second quarter, number 12 Brady ran the ball and got hit out of bounds by number 21. And then they even show a clip of the Chiefs game when that happened as well, when he ran to the corner or whatever. But during that Chiefs-Pats game, Avant for the Chiefs caught the ball on the 12-yard line, and then the announcer said there was a penalty flag at the 21. The Chiefs accepted the penalty and went to the 10-yard line. 10 in Gematria equals 12. The next play, number 12 Wilson for the Chiefs scored the 12th point with 2:12 on the clock, and it was even a drive that took 12 plays. If the Chiefs would have won that game against the Patriots, it would have been their 12th win in a row even. In Super Bowl 49, Russell Wilson, so we got the two Wilsons, threw his 21st pass on 2nd and 1. It was intercepted by number 21 Butler, who fell to the ground with 12 seconds left, and the game was even on February 1st, 2-1. So basically, the mirrors, like Russell Wilson was all about 21s, and the Wilson for the Chiefs was all about the number 12 mostly. 12th point, 12 plays, 12, number 12, whatever. So it's almost like it mirrored, like I had talked about in the previous video. If people didn't understand what I was saying, it's almost like it's mirrored. Last year, it was the 21 that was bad. This year, it was the 12 that was bad. Interesting, too, in this game, there was a lot of 12 stuff that Brady actually lost on. And as I say that, I want to mention that the Panthers are in their 21st season of the NFL. So who knows if that's a lock or anything, but just want to point that out. Also, at the end of this game here, New England called a timeout with 17 seconds on the clock and 17 seconds on the play clock. They have 12 points, and then they get their final score with 12 seconds left on the clock even. I mean, also, non-numbers wise, literally, if anybody watched this game, Tom Brady was literally just throwing these balls away. It was ridiculous. The easiest passes ever, he was just throwing them in the dirt and whatever. Just absolutely rigged. I don't know how anybody cannot believe it. It was not to do with him being pressured or whatever. Just go back and watch it. He had plenty of time, and he's just like throwing these balls terrible. But anyway, dealing with the number 17 here, 17 in Gematria adds up to 37 and 109. 37 is, of course, the 12th prime number, and 109 I've mentioned a whole bunch with earthquakes and whatnot. San Francisco, the famous earthquake was in 1906, which is 109 years ago. Also, just wanted to point out, Patriots equals 37. Just like Chicago equals 37 the small way. And the Patriots lost to the 85 Bears with 10 points. 10 equals 12. And you might think, well, hey, the Patriots equal 37, Chicago equals 37. So, they're coded together. And, as I've researched this more and more, and I've been wrong on things, I'm starting to notice some of the patterns. Just like how number 21 has been a better number than 12, it's mirror, so the opposite or whatever, but Chicago equals 37 and 46, and I'm beginning to wonder if, 37 is the bad number and 46 is the good number. And that also makes me question if the Broncos are going to win the Super Bowl or not. Because I talked about how, Manning beat the Bears in Super Bowl 41, but it's actually the modern era Super Bowl 37. So Manning won in this one, but maybe since this is the 46th modern era Super Bowl, it's going to go Chicago's way. It's the backwards way or whatever. So hopefully you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying that 46 is good for a team coded to Chicago or just Chicago, and 37 is the number that is not good for Chicago. So if Peyton won the 37th, maybe he's not going to win the 46th. But anyway, back to this game here. So the Patriots ended up making the score 18-20, but what was interesting about it was that it was on 4th down from the 4-yard line in the 4th quarter. It was also the 4th time they went for it on 4th down in the 4th quarter. So 4-4-4, 4-4-4. Not exactly sure what that means. I do know that the word Masonic adds up to 444 in English gematria. So I guess anytime anything in simple gematria connects to number 74, since you just times it by 6, it would also be 444 as well. Interesting, the word Masonic in Jewish gematria is 223 as well. But who knows? I mean, I'm sure it's probably just because of that. It's probably just because of the word Masonic, but who knows? Also, during that 2-point conversion, the Patriots had to go for 2 because of the kick by Gostkowski, but the ball was tipped by number 21 of the Broncos and then intercepted by Bradley Roby. And he's number 29. 29 adds up to 149. And he was even born on the